We're back on the Sports Zone. I am Mike Aglialoro. We're going to talk about a few issues from the first few days of baseball. In particular, we're going to talk about something from this weekend. Now, George Murphy and Tom Lembo were on Facebook over the weekend. They were having a little talk. Lembo was trying to figure out what he was going to do after Walking Dead ended. And he had put up the schedule for ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, the first half of the season. And he made a comment that maybe it was ripe for one of us to talk about it, not really thinking that someone was going to take it literally. Well, I looked at the schedule, and I got to be honest, there were a few things I wanted to say about that. I personally think it's a bad job on ESPN's part in terms of the scheduling for the first half of the season. To me, Sunday Night Baseball is supposed to be the marquee matchup of that week. It's supposed to be the game where you are trying to get people to watch who don't normally watch. And in this particular season, where you're going to be up against some tight competition from what else is on, in particular, the final season of Mad Men is going to be starting soon, and Game of Thrones Season 4 is going to be coming back on this coming week. So, in my way of thinking, if you want people to watch these Sunday night games, you have to make that schedule really, really applicable, not just to the diehard baseball fans, but to people who don't normally watch it. And to me, if you're going to have the same teams on, which is what ESPN does, it's the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Red Sox all on 3 games each, the St. Louis Cardinals on 4 games, and you have the Baltimore Orioles on twice. Now, teams like the Dodgers, teams like the Red Sox, teams like the Cardinals, I kind of get why you want them on as much as they are, because the Red Sox and the Cardinals played in the World Series last year. The Dodgers actually made the playoffs last year. Teams like the Yankees and Orioles are completely subjective, though. And you've completely left off the Atlanta Braves, the Washington Nationals, and the Oakland Athletics, who have all made the playoffs or at least been playoff contenders the last 2 seasons. No more, no less than the Baltimore Orioles have done, really. And the Orioles don't have the pitching staff that any of those other teams have. And not only do the Braves, Nationals, A's, Texas Rangers not get 1 game, the Chicago Cubs are on a game against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim get to play a game against the Yankees, and neither of those teams made the playoffs last season. The Angels haven't made the playoffs in over 2 years because they have these huge payrolls, and the players haven't panned out. Guys like Albert Pujols and Josh Hamilton are not the stars they once were, and while Mike Trout is still one of the biggest stars in the league, the rest of the team is in prove-it mode with the rest of the league. Prove it that they belong in the playoff contending category of Major League Baseball, which they're not at this current moment. So to me, it's a bad job on ESPN's part. If you want to market this as the marquee game, like I said, it's the marquee matchup of baseball for the week. You should have the top teams in the league. Like, by the way, where are the Tampa Bay Rays in this? They may very well have the best pitching staff in the American League, if not one of the better pitching staffs in all of baseball, and they have 2 bright stars themselves in Will Myers and Evan Longoria. You still have one of the best 10 pitchers in all the game in David Price, with Matt Moore and Alex Cobb behind them. You got to do a better job on this, ESPN. And while we're on the subject of people that need to do a better job, Daniel Murphy took some flack this week for missing 2 games. His wife went into labor on Monday. He missed opening day, and then he missed Wednesday to be with his wife, who gave birth Monday at about a little after noon. Now, yesterday, I was actually listening to Mike Francesca for a little bit when he went on this big rant, and I know, having listened to Mike Francesca for 20 years, in his mind, he did nothing wrong. And maybe he didn't do anything wrong. I'm not even sure wrong is the right word to use here. I just feel he was a little unfair to Dan Murphy and to people in general who want to be with their wives. Now, in his mind, I know he feels he made the distinction between people in different kinds of jobs like baseball players, merely talking about athletes paid to play a game, as opposed to the regular person. But then he took it, in my eyes, a little too far with his critique. And in the end, when it started to get on the subject of guys missing 5 to 10 days to be with their wives, he didn't mean to be, but it felt like he was mocking Dan Murphy and guys who wanted to miss multiple days. What are you doing in the delivery room for 2 days? And he was laughing about it. In his mind, he wasn't really doing anything wrong. And again, maybe wrong is not the right word to use here. I thought he was a little unfair to Dan Murphy. Everybody's situation is different. No two situations in this particular case are the same. What works with one person is not necessarily going to work with another. Dan Murphy, yeah, you could say he's a Major League Baseball player, played to play a game. In the contract, there is also the right to miss up to 3 days on paternity leave. And if you have that right, is it really on anybody, Mike Francesca, me, or anybody in the media, to get on Murphy for wanting to be with his family when on the first days of his child's life? Now, maybe that's not for everybody, but that's what it was for Murphy. And I don't think it was really fair the way Francesca's critique went on that. And I listened to him try to defend himself. And, of course, listen, in Francesca's mind, he's never wrong. He's able to say whatever he wants. And we're all wrong for getting on him. Let's not forget this is a guy who fell asleep on the air. And for a month or two after the fact, he tried to convince everybody he was really resting his eyes. So, I mean, listen, I like Francesca. Like I said, I've grown up with Mike Francesca. I have literally listened to him since I was 12 years old because I would leave the radio on the night after listening to Met games on WFAN, which is something we can no longer do anymore. But that is a subject for another day. It's not right, folks. It's not right. But anyway, getting back to the subject, I think it was a bad job on Mike Francesca's part and a lot of people. And as much as I am not a big fan of Mike Greenberg and Mike Golick, I happen to agree with the way they looked at it because I watched their response to the Francesca criticism and some of the criticisms on Murphy, and I thought their analysis was dead on. Golick even said, what works for me is not going to work for someone else, and it's not really on me to criticize someone else for how they want to handle it. Did he say that he would have been back to work on Wednesday, unlike Murphy? Yes, he did, but I felt he did it more respectfully than someone like Francesca basically came out and did. So, give it up for Mike and Mike in the morning. I like the way they handle that. I don't really like them that much. So, that to me, that means something. And as for the Mets and Yankees, it's about 6:30 as I'm shooting this right now, and both New York teams stand with an 0-5 record. The Mets have been swept by the Washington Nationals after today's 8-2 shellacking. With Zach Wheeler on the mound, Wheeler didn't give up all the runs. We leave that to Scott Rice and Jeurys Familia. And again, the bullpen is still not helping the New York Mets. And as for the Yankees, I'll say this. I don't necessarily agree with Eric Tressler's 92-win prediction for the New York Yankees, but I'll tell you this. You're not winning 92 games if you can't beat the Houston Astros. How do you lose 2 straight games to a team considered the worst team in the game? That's not a 92-win team if you can't beat them. And that's going to do it for us right now. Check out our new MMA writer, Dave Tice. His look at how UFC stands to rebound after losing Anderson Silva and George St. Pierre. And make sure you check out the first of our NFL draft coverage. The NFL draft is, of course, May 8th through 11th. Brian Zamorsky and our new writer, Jake Dixon, are going to start taking a position-by-position look at some of the young prospects you're going to be hearing a lot about. We're going to start with quarterbacks, and definitely it's people you know about already. And you're going to do a top 10, so maybe you'll hear about some people you don't know about as well. And don't forget to check out some of the other articles covering the NBA, NFL, boxing, and some other baseball coverage from guys like Jay Rofsky, Tom Lembo, George Murphy, and Eric Tressler. Follow us on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter at We Are SportsZone. And we also just opened up accounts on Vicehood.com and Tumblr. So I want to say hello to anybody who may be watching us from them. And I also want to thank my 7 YouTube subscribers, including the guy who's been watching a lot of what I've been saying recently, and that is Learn Some Truth. I don't have a real name on that, I also want to thank Michelle from Very Sexy Sports. She's got a couple comments up on some of the articles. She's been watching us as well, and she joined with us on our new Tumblr account. So I want to thank these people for supporting us so far. So thank all you guys. Send us any comments or questions you may have as always. Once again, everybody, thanks for watching. For This Is SportsZone, I am Mike Aglialoro. We will see you next time, folks.